Now we're going to show you how to bake a cake. Not there, here, in your Lifetime Oil Core Electric Skillet. And what I've done, just to give you a little background, I've bought the yellow cake mix, the full cake mix, and on the back of the box it tells you to add 3 eggs and 1/3 cup of oil. Now, the reason they have you add the 1/3 cup of oil is everybody likes a moist cake, and the oven, as we all know, is a very dry heat. So if we put the oil in the batter, everyone eats the cake says, boy, that's very moist. Sure, it's moist, but it's oil. Okay, we don't need the oil when we're baking on top of the stove or in the electric, as we're going to show you today. So what I've done is I've got the batter here, and I've mixed that with, rather than 3 eggs that was called for, 2 eggs. Rather than the 1/3 cup of oil, I added the natural pineapple juice that the pineapple slices were packed in, and put that in for my moisture. So we've got the electric pan preheated to 300 degrees. I've got 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and 2 tablespoons of butter. We're going to let that melt. Once it is melted, we're going to add our pineapple slices, put our cherries in the middle of the pineapple slices, and take our batter and layer it over the top. The most heat that we're going to use, the most energy that we're going to use to prepare this cake in the electric pan, we're going to have it plugged in for 5 minutes. And then because of how this pan is constructed with the oil inside it, we're going to retain that heat and continue the cooking process. So the other neat thing about these pans is that we can melt sugar and butter. We don't have to worry about burning anything. It melts that evenly. Most places that you live in the summer, people don't want their oven on. So for us to be able to bake a cake either in the electric pan or right on top of the stove is a tremendous advantage, not only from an energy saving point of view, and again, using an oven to cook something this big, it's kind of overkill. So we like to use the right pan for what we have cooking. We'll now add our pineapple slices. You want to make sure you add your pineapple slices so you don't wind up with pineapple in the middle cake, which I've done. It's not as pretty. And we'll slide one more in there. And then I've got some cherries that I'm going to put in the center of the pineapple slices. Got the cake batter. Pour that over the top. Spread it out a little bit. It spreads out pretty well on its own, but we'll give it a little helping hand along the way. Put the cover on. We're just going to let it sit and finish cooking for 5 minutes or so. We'll pull the cover off, shake it. If it's firm, it's done. If it's not, throw the cover on, let it go a little bit longer. Now, we can do the same thing that we're doing right now in the electric skillet. We can do that same thing in our stovetop pans. An 8-inch skillet, let's say you look at that cake and say, boy, that's more cake than I might want. You can buy a smaller mix, and use the smaller pineapple can, as well as only 1 egg. Mix that up, put it in our 8-inch skillet. If you're using the 11-inch skillet that you see here, we would use the same type of ingredients that we used in the electric. The difference with on top of the stove is you wait until some steam escapes from the cover, and when that happens, what I typically do is I'll go and I'll check, because sometimes at that point it is done. If it is not, I'll put the cover on and maybe give it another 5 minutes. Another question you may be thinking of, well, what temperature do I start this on top of the stove? Because I didn't cover that. What you want to do is the same temperature that you would do your vegetables at. Medium, low is all you need to know for cake as well. And I would caution you to go on the low side of medium when you're making your cake or when you're making your vegetables. Okay, our 5 minutes is up with our pineapple upside down cake. So what I'm going to do at this point is pull the plug out and unplug it from here, and I'll set this aside. And now we're just going to let this sit for 6 or 7 minutes, and at that point, I'll pull the cover off and just make sure it's finished at that point. But you may be wondering, how can you be cooking now that you just pulled the plug? Well, therein lies the magic of the oil core electric skillet. The way this pan is designed is very unique. There's actually, if you want to think about it in simple terms, there's a top pan and a bottom pan. And in between those two pans, there's an open space. The heating unit is placed in between the two pans, so it doesn't touch the top, it doesn't touch the bottom, and then in that void, there's a silicate oil added. And the silicate oil goes all throughout the bottom and up the sides. And if you can imagine a pan that's at 300 degrees, oil that's at 300 degrees, you pull the plug from that, that's going to stay warm for a while. And that's the beauty of this pan. It's going to stay warm. It's going to finish the cooking process, and you only had to have it. You had to preheat it, obviously, but actually, once it was up to temperature, you only had it plugged in for 5 minutes at 300 rather than 20, 25 minutes in your big oven. Our 6 minutes is up with the pineapple upside down cake, so let's pull the cover and see how we look. See how nice and moist it is? We don't need that oil to create the moisture. We'll shake it a little bit. It's firm, so I know that it's done. I'm going to take our Lifetime pizza pan and set it over the top, and then we'll just flip it over, set it on the counter. And here is our beautiful Lifetime pineapple upside down cake.